Welcome to another episode of Tactical Analysis, and in this video we are going to be analysing the Babolat Pure Drive Roddick Plus. That's the 2012 version, and in this racket we've got it strung up with Signum Pro Firestorm 16, so that's the 1.30mm gauge. And we'll pull up some specifications from the Tennis Warehouse University, have a look at what we might expect out on court, and then actually detail our on-court experiences from there. We'll have a look at the positives and negatives and then recommend some suitable player types for this setup. So yeah, let's get into the video. We'll start off with the Pure Drive Roddick Plus, and so this is the 2012 version, and having a look at the specifications, the first thing that jumps out to me again is the extended length at 27.5 inches. It's got a head size of 100 square inches, a vibration frequency of 163.9 hertz, which is very high, and with a frequency that high you'd expect more spin, more height and trajectory control, but could come at the cost of decreased length control as there's more power, all things being equal with a higher vibration frequency. So moving on to some of the stats on the Racket Recommender tool, we've got a shot speed at 66.2 miles an hour, which is very high, again indicating that we might have trouble with our length control if we don't get the string correct here. And we've also got a width of 24.4 centimeters, so on the above average side, and that gives us a higher spin window, meaning that we can swing at sharper upward angles without fear of clipping the frame as much as smaller framed models. So that generally is a good thing. So let's move on to the string. Onto the string, and the first thing that pops out to me is the deflection, which is 33.1 millimeters, which is quite a way above average and indicates to us that there's a lot of access to snapback, meaning a increased potential for spin. So moving along to the stiffness, we've got a rating here of 185.7 pounds, and combined with that is a energy return of 83.9%, which is below average even for polyester. So we would expect a little bit more comfort even for a string with this somewhat lower than average stiffness rating. And looking at the dwell time at 36.3 milliseconds, that indicates that's probably the case, as again that shot impact is spread out over a longer period of time than average. So onto my on-court experience, and I did test this setup with a dampener and it wasn't good at all. I used it in practice matches and even in a tournament at one point, but the main strength of this setup, especially the string, is its deflection, which gives us, the user, a lot of access to snapback and therefore a lot of access to spin. But putting a dampener on this setup really blocks the mains movement on the crosses, and so blocks one of the great strengths of this setup, and therefore we're left with pretty much nothing that the racket does well, and that's not a good thing at all. So I did test it with a dampener, but I wasn't impressed at all, so I'm not going to be reviewing it because it doesn't deserve a review. However, I will be reviewing the setup without a dampener, as that was far superior. So onto some of the strengths of the setup without a dampener. And the first positive I want to comment on is just how versatile the setup is, meaning that you have access to pretty much every shot you can think of, whether it be kick serves, slice serves, or flat shots, shots hit with a lot of topspin, slices, volleys. Really every shot and strategy that you can think of, this setup can execute to an acceptable level at the very least, and I think that's a big positive to comment on. It also is, for a racket that is quite stiff and has a high vibration frequency, it's quite comfortable, as the setup, as the string has a longer dwell time, a lower energy return, and so it kind of counteracts that stiffer feeling from the racket. So if it's comfort that you're looking for, this wouldn't be the worst setup to try out. And of course there are setups that are a lot more comfortable than this, but if you're looking for somewhere to start off with, I'd say this is more than adequate to have a look at. And onto the negatives, it doesn't really excel at any shot. So if you are, and let's be honest, if you are a one-dimensional player and you have maybe one, maybe two shots that are exceptional and the rest of your game is poor, then this isn't going to get the best out of you, as it doesn't really excel. So for example, if you are just a net player and say you just play doubles and you really just looking to get into the net, your ground game isn't good, your movement isn't good, your serve isn't the best, I probably wouldn't recommend this setup, as you could better tailor the racket and string combination to suit your style of play. So yeah, the big negative with this is that it doesn't excel at any particular shot. And therefore, the suitable player types I could recommend mainly would be all court players with experience executing multiple strategies, as this setup does pretty much everything to an acceptable level. And so if you do have great variety in your game, you won't have to worry about the setup holding you back in one specific area of your game, as it has access to pretty much every shot you can think of. I'd also recommend this setup to players looking to add new facets to their game. So if you are a baseliner looking to add maybe a net game and a transition game, because the setup is so good at performing every shot to an acceptable level, this would be a good setup to start off with and see if you can add those new shots to your arsenal and continue developing your game as a whole. And also, players that are looking to alter the technical aspects of their actual strokes, meaning, say for example, you are a baseliner that plays with a lot of spin on your forehand, but you also want to develop a flat shot so you can get the ball through the court when you have the opportunity. Because this setup has access to both shots, it would be a good setup to use when you're trying to develop that flatter stroke, as well as being able to utilize your topspin forehand that you're so comfortable with. And that goes for pretty much every other shot as well. So for example, if you do just have a flat serve and you're looking to develop a kick serve or a slice serve alongside that, again, you can do so, as the setup has access to both shots. And so that was a pretty interesting setup to take out onto court. It's not one I experience often, as most racket and string combinations are tailored to excel at a particular style of play. And so to have access to pretty much every strategy one can think of, that's pretty rare and very interesting as a result. So I'm quite pleased that I took this out onto court. Just to reiterate, that is the version without a dampener, as the version with the dampener was appalling. Right, that is the end of this video. I want to thank everyone for watching. If you did enjoy it, it might be worth checking out our other content and staying tuned for future videos I've got planned that are coming out soon. So until then, I hopefully see you all there, and everyone, take care.